In this video, we're going to do the following problem. Find the distance between the 2 points. So it might be helpful first if we were to give ourselves a set of coordinate axes and just kind of roughly plot the points. So here's the x-axis, here's the y-axis, and the points that we've been given are the points 3, negative 4. So 3, negative 4 is maybe going to be about there. And negative 77, 14. So negative 77, 14 is going to be all the way over there. And we're going to connect those two. So it's the length of that line that we're trying to find. So let me go ahead and label these with their coordinates. Negative 77, comma 14, and 3, negative 4. Now if I draw on in here a couple of a horizontal and a vertical line, we can start to see what looks like a triangle. And we could label the lengths of those sides as A, B, and C. And because this is a right triangle, because we have a horizontal and vertical line, they meet at a right angle, the Pythagorean theorem tells us that if we take the two legs of the triangle, the two sides that meet at a right angle, and square them and add them together, that what we'll get is the hypotenuse of that triangle squared. And that value is exactly the value that we're looking for, the distance between those 2 points. So then we need to find values for A and for B. So for B here, we can see that this distance here from the y-axis out to the edge there is going to be 77 units long, because the x-coordinate of that point is negative 77, and then we get another 3 units here because the x-coordinate of this point is 3. So that total length is going to be 77 plus 3, which gives us 80. And for the length of this segment here, that length is going to be equal to 14 plus 4. 14 because the distance from here up to that point is 14, and the distance from here down to the height of the other point is 4. So this side length is going to be equal to 18. So that tells us that 18 squared plus 80 squared is going to be equal to c squared. And now we need to get a little bit of help from our calculator to do the rest of these operations. So using our calculator, 18 squared is equal to 324, and 80 squared is equal to 6,400, and that, adding those together, is going to give us c squared. So using our calculator to add those together, we get 6,724 is equal to c squared, and then c is going to be equal to the square root of 6,724, and we know it's going to be a positive value because our length has to be positive, and we get that c is equal to 82. So now I didn't do this using the distance formula, so let's see how this would work if we had used the distance formula. The distance formula tells us that the distance between those 2 points is going to be the x-coordinate of one of the points minus the x-coordinate of the other point squared, plus the y-coordinate of one of those points minus the y-coordinate of the other point squared. So if we go back and we call this one x1 and y1, and this one x2 and y2, we can substitute values into the formula and see how it relates to the values that we got when we did this, just sort of thinking through and using the Pythagorean theorem. So x1 is equal to 3, and we're going to subtract from that negative 77, and that's going to be squared, plus y1 is equal to negative 4, and we're going to subtract from that 14, and then that's going to be squared. And so we get that the distance is going to be equal to the square root of 3 plus 77 squared plus negative 18 squared. So what happened here? Well, when we subtract those two coordinates, x1 minus y1, we're getting the distance between those 2 points. And because x1 is bigger than y1, we do get a positive value. And when we continue on here in our next step, we're going to see that we get the square root of 80 squared. 80 was exactly the length we found in the x direction before. And then when we subtracted y1 minus y2, again we're getting the distance between the 2 points up here in terms of their height. But because y1 was smaller than y2, we end up with, instead of the exact distance, we end up with the negative of that distance. But when we square that value, the sign won't matter because we'll still get a positive result. And here we get d is equal to the square root of 6,400 plus 324. So the distance is equal to the square root of 6,724, and the distance is equal to 82. So we get the same result either way. I hope you found this helpful.